Recently, I had the opportunity to travel around Australia, and on one of my flights, I got canceled in Sydney. Well, there's worse places to be in than Sydney, Australia. So I go up to the Sydney Opera House to see if they are having a concert. Sure enough, the Sydney Symphony Orchestra is playing. I purchase a ticket, I go in, I'm sitting in the box seat. Out walks this woman to perform Beethoven. She looks to be in her mid-60s, long, flowing, green, satin emerald dress. She sits down at the piano with the ensemble behind her and begins to play the most beautiful piece you've ever heard for 40 minutes. That woman never missed a note, not one. I was moved to tears. The guy sitting next to me looks at me, he goes, "Hey, why are you crying?" And I look at him, I'm like, "Hey, you're crying too." He said, "Well, why are you crying?" I said, "Well, I'm crying because this woman's craft, how long did it take her to learn that? How long did it take her to learn the piece? How long did it take her to play that efficiently, that effectively?" She had 4 encores. It was at least an 8-minute standing ovation. So I'm watching a woman who had spent her entire life learning how to play this magnificently. And I watched the audience of people appreciate who she was and what she did. So I asked the guy next to me, "Why are you crying?" He said, "Oh, that's our best friend. We just flew in from London because this is her very last performance." Wow. Now on the flip side of that, have you ever been to a 3rd grade Christmas musical? Not as efficient as the Sydney Symphony Orchestra. But there was this one in particular where at the end of this production, this group of special needs students are wheeled up to the front and they're each handed a bell. Some of them have cerebral palsy, others have different ailments and special needs, but there was one in particular who was drawn up and they slid the bell into his hand, and each bell represented a different note. So the conductor gets up and points graciously at each child, waiting for them to play their note. It took about 10 minutes for them to play Silent Night, but at the end of it, there was not a dry eye in the house. And they too got an 8 to 10 minute standing ovation. The moral of it is, whether you are a seasoned veteran concert pianist, or whether you're feeling like you're paralyzed by things that's happened in your life, every single person has a note to play. And you need to play your note.